Do you ever feel like your dreams are just too far out of reach? Like the mountain in front of you is simply too high to climb? Maybe you've been told that the path you want to take is impossible. But what if I told you that impossible is just a word created to keep you from breaking free? What if everything you've been told is a lie? What if everything you've been told is a lie? We've all faced obstacles, doubts, and fears. But what if the only thing standing between you and your dreams is the belief that something is impossible? Who defined impossible anyway? Who gave them the power to control your fate, your future, your success? What if impossible isn't a reality, but just an excuse? An excuse built on comfort, on fear, on avoiding the struggle it takes to rise. But here's the truth. The very moment you believe impossible is an excuse, that's when you start breaking through the barriers. That's when you begin to see opportunities where others only see walls. So, what's holding you back? Are you ready to challenge the lies? To step into the darkness where growth happens? Because once you realize that impossible is nothing more than an excuse, you unlock a version of yourself capable of achieving the unthinkable. It's time to rise. Are you ready? Let's dive into the truth behind the excuses and turn impossible into your next victory. The truth is, the word impossible is a weapon. It's a mental cage, a tool used to stop you before you even begin. It's the voice that whispers in your ear when you set a new goal. That's too hard. You're not strong enough. Who do you think you are? It doesn't matter where you come from, what your circumstances are, or how many times you've failed. Impossible is a universal killer of dreams. It's the excuse that convinces you to give up before you even start. But here's the hard truth. No one is going to give you permission to succeed. The world doesn't care about your struggles, your fears, or your doubts. It doesn't pause when you hit a wall or when life punches you in the gut. It doesn't stop when you tell yourself it's too difficult, too painful, too exhausting. Life keeps moving. And the only choice you have is whether or not you're going to move with it. Fail or succeed. So let's talk about failure for a moment. When you fail, the world doesn't end. Sure, it stings, it hurts, it leaves a scar. But what if failure is the exact ingredient you need? What if the very thing you fear is the thing that will unlock your next level? You see, the most successful people in history weren't born with any special powers. They didn't wake up one day and find their path laid out perfectly before them. They fell, they stumbled, they experienced the agony of failure over and over again. But instead of letting impossible stop them, they used it. They turned failure into fuel. And that's where the real conflict lies. The moment when you realize that success doesn't come to those who are lucky. It comes to those who refuse to accept defeat as the end. If you've ever faced a setback or been told it's too late, then you've felt the power of that invisible force that keeps most people chained. It's fear disguised as wisdom, disguised as logic, disguised as practicality. External distances alone have no effect upon a man's life. Practicality. If you practice proper speech, but is it practical to stay stuck in mediocrity? Is it wise to let every failure define you? Think about it. What are you really afraid of? Failing? Being judged? Or is it the idea of not even trying? The idea of living a life where you never truly gave it your all, never faced the unknown, never reached for the impossible? Because here's the thing. The moment you stop believing in impossible, you start to realize that every wall is just a challenge waiting to be conquered. Every no is just a redirection. Every failure is simply a lesson in disguise. And each time you stand up and face the challenge, you break a little bit more free from the chains that have kept you small. The truth is, the only real impossible is living a life of regret. Regret for the things you didn't do, because you were too afraid of the struggle. What happens when you embrace that struggle, though? What happens when you stop making excuses and face the fear head on? You get stronger. You become more resilient. And you start to realize that what the world calls impossible, you call a challenge. A challenge that, with enough grit, determination, and belief in yourself, you will overcome. Because you are not made for mediocrity. You are made for greatness. And then comes the moment of truth. It hits you like a bolt of lightning, crackling through the silence of doubt and uncertainty. You realize the very thing you've been running from, the thing you've allowed to control your actions, was never the obstacle you thought it was. It was a lie. A lie you've told yourself so many times it became a truth in your mind. The impossible isn't some external force, some mountain too high to climb. It's the voice inside your head, the belief you've carried for so long that you're not enough, that you'll never make it, that you're not capable of achieving something great. The truth, though, is that this voice is your greatest enemy, and it's also your most powerful ally. The revelation is simple. The power to overcome the impossible has always been within you. You've had it from the start. It's in your DNA, in the fire that burns inside you, in the persistence that pushes you even when it seems like the world is against you. The only thing you've been waiting for is permission to unleash it. But guess what? That permission was never going to come from anyone but yourself. You've been waiting for the green light, for the sign from the universe, for someone to tell you that now is the time. But the truth is, there is no right time. There is only now. Think about the people who changed the world. They weren't waiting for validation. They weren't waiting for the stars to align or for someone to tell them they were ready. They started, they stumbled, they failed, but most importantly, they kept going. They didn't wait for the world's approval because they understood a profound truth. The world won't give you anything unless you're willing to fight for it. This is the turning point, the revelation you've been seeking. The impossible is only as powerful as you allow it to be. The moment you stop seeing it as an insurmountable wall and start seeing it as a challenge, something to rise to, you change the game. You become the person who doesn't just dream big, but acts big. You take ownership of your destiny. You take responsibility for your success and your failure, because you know that the only way to defeat the impossible is to face it head on. The breakthrough doesn't come in the form of an easy win. It's not about luck or serendipity. The breakthrough comes when you realize that the struggle, the sweat, the pain, and the sacrifices are all part of the process. That's when you stop trying to avoid the fight and start embracing it. You step into your power, your potential, and your purpose. You realize that the harder the challenge, the more rewarding the victory. This is where the veil lifts. This is where you start to see clearly. And in that clarity, you understand there is no impossible. There is only you, the challenge, and the resolve to keep going no matter how hard it gets. The only thing standing between you and your goals is the decision to believe in yourself, to push free from the prison you've created in your mind, the type of person who creates metal walls in their brain, to break free from the prison you've created in your mind. The revelation? The impossible has always been a choice, and now you've made yours. And now you stand on the other side. The storm has passed, the doubts have been silenced, and you're left with the undeniable truth. You had the power to break through anything. The impossible was never a destination. It was just a checkpoint. A moment where you had to make a decision, whether to stay stuck in fear or to rise, to face the fight and conquer it. And you chose to rise. It's not about waiting for a miracle or hoping that the path will magically clear. It's about understanding that you are the force that shapes your reality. The strength you've unlocked doesn't come from a stroke of luck or some magical intervention. It comes from within. From the grit, the resilience, and the refusal to back down no matter the cost. Every challenge, every setback, every failure you've faced was just a lesson. Each one forged you into a stronger, more capable version of yourself. You didn't just survive the storm. You became the storm. Look at where you are now. You've learned that the only thing truly standing in your way is the story you tell yourself. The moment you rewrite that story, you begin to control the narrative. And that is where your power lies. You are no longer someone waiting for things to happen. You are someone making things happen. You don't need validation from anyone, because you've already given yourself permission to succeed. You have broken free from the chains of doubt and fear. Now the world is yours to take. You don't look at obstacles the same way anymore. They're just stepping stones. Every mountain that once seemed too high, every door that once seemed closed, is now just another challenge to conquer. The impossible is no longer a threat. It's just another part of your journey. And with every step you take, you continue to prove to yourself and to the world that there is no limit to what you can achieve. You are unstoppable. Now that you've seen the truth, it's time to take action. The world doesn't change by simply wishing for it. It changes when you make the decision to move forward, to confront the impossible, and to crush the excuses that have been holding you back. Right now, you have the power to take that first step, no matter how small, towards your goals. Don't let fear control you anymore. Use it. Let it fuel your drive and remind you that you are capable of achieving things that once seemed out of reach. I want you to think about where you are right now and where you want to be. What's the next step? What's that one thing you've been hesitating to do because you thought it was impossible? It's time to stop making excuses. Take that leap. Embrace the challenge. No more waiting for the perfect time. The perfect time is now. Remember, impossible is just an excuse, and you're far stronger than any excuse you've ever believed in. If this message resonated with you, I want you to hit that like button and share this video with anyone who needs to hear it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and join a community of people who are committed to rising above their limitations and taking control of their lives. You're not alone in this journey. Together, we'll keep pushing past the impossible. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.